Hello there.
Hello, can you see me?
I can see you and I
Can you
can hear
hear
you.
me?
I can
Beautiful.
hear you too. Uh,
And then, okay, perfect. Here's Wally.
oh, brilliant. Oh, he's gone. He switched his camera off and his. Oh, here we go. Yay!
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me all right?
All good. All good.
Excellent.
We all made it at the same time. That's the best
Nice.
thing about this so far.
Beautiful.
Um, my first question was going to be which one's Adam, and which one's the other one.
That's how we
Um,
describe ourselves.
the weird thing is when Fermentor came up as the username, I was like, okay, the whole band are on one.
I
All right,
see.
no, it's cool, great. Anyway, look, lovely to have you here, guys. Thank you so much for reaching out and putting me in the privileged position of watching your video. And
Thank
you
you.
know, as a singer, I'd like to start the interview by saying, "Fuck you, guys."
Well, you can still sing along if you want. If anything, it empowers you
Yeah.
as you're listening. You can. I always felt that the vocals were implied to our music. So when you listen to it, you might have some vocals in your head. You should go ahead.
Do you
Have
know
at it.
what?
Everyone is the
Yeah,
lead singer of Fermentor in their own heart.
Exactly.
do
Exactly
you know,
right.
we're in the midst of writing an album, and I think I might try that on a song and just say, guys, I want you to think of the vocals in this song. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
can you not be bothered again?
By the
um,
way, I'm Adam,
yeah,
and that's Dylan there.
yes. Hi, Dylan. Hi.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
did.
I didn't think about that when I when I accessed the link through our joint email, but yes,
No
I'm
worries.
Dylan, so sorry for the confusion.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. Hi, Dylan. Hi, Adam. Now, I will have done, I'll have done a preamble to the interview and everything. And the album, the album's due to drop on December the 1st. Um, I've, seen and heard one track. I've watched the video and then I've listened to the tune without your, wonderful performances. And first of all, nice studio, like that a lot.
Yeah, Singing Serpent here in San Diego. That's where we recorded our album, and that video is actually us taking the actual take that we got. So what you hear on the
Really,
record is us performing it there, save for maybe like a little detail here or there, but essentially the lion's share of that video is us taking the take that you hear on the album.
that's awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. And I mean it's an awesome tune and that's so refreshing to hear as well. You went to a studio to record an album. Why not just do it in your bedroom and make it sound tinny as fuck?
In this situation, we maxed out that studio because our whole idea was that Dylan and I would be able to record in tandem. So we didn't want to have a bunch of overdubs and layering later. We wanted to try and capture sort of what Fermentor is all about, which is sort of our live connection. And so I think at the end of the day, had 32 inputs or something like that going at once. It was a pretty substantial undertaking. And big thanks to our recording engineer, Ben Moore, who made that possible. He's the house engineer at Singing Serpent, and we couldn't be happier with how it went.
And also, oftentimes, when you're recording an album, you set up all the mics on the drums, and then you take what we call scratch guitar, because it's like you only can like stick one mic on the thing, and it's like cool, it's good, you know what I mean? But it's like we didn't want a scratch guitar. Like we wanted both of our, because we're just a two-piece, we wanted both of our setups completely mic'd up simultaneously, because
Yep.
it's like this is all happening, the magic is all happening right now. Like we need to capture it all right now.
And
That's
I
so
can just picture the engineer at some point as well going, well, I'd be able to fix that if you hadn't insisted on fucking doing it like the old days because you're bleeding over each other and I can't fix that. You're gonna have to do
yeah.
it again.
The trick is to record it yourself. So once Ben Moore had the whole room set up and we had everything mic'd and our tones are sounding good, he left and Dylan and I stayed for
Wow.
the next 4 days and recorded ourselves. So I actually had Pro Tools up on a laptop in the live room with me, which you can actually see in that video. There's a laptop there next to me. So that's I'm the one running Pro Tools and recording us. So we didn't have anyone breathing down our necks or giving us shit while we were trying to record. You know, we gave ourselves enough shit, and frankly, if there was something that we felt needed to be touched up, we were able to, even with a little bit of bleed. The cabs were isolated, so we were getting them over our headphones, but everything was mic'd up and recording live, and so trying to capture that live feel as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, well, that's how we used to record back in the day, mate. You know, that's how everything was recorded. So, except without the laptop with Pro Tools on it. You know, but I mean, it sounds fucking great. And I love the idea as well. Being a duo, it's kind of like an engineer or a producer. It's like two's company, three's a crowd. You know, what is this fucking guy doing here?
Well, me and Wally have been jamming together, you know, since we put out our first demo in 2008.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
So we've been playing together for, you know, 15 years plus, and we've really at this point we've like been playing together for so long. We know each other's nuances. Like, we can tell where the other one's gonna go. We know where. It's like we like to kind of celebrate how long we've been playing together and like our musical connection by, like, if you just have someone else, it's like we don't really need it because we're just like trying to be very in tune, like that can only come from playing together for so long, I think.
Well, that's why we. Sorry, I was just going to say
that's please
go on.
I was going to say that's why we named our album Mind Meld, because that's what we're talking about here, is that connection. I apologize.
Yeah. No, not at all, not at all. I mean, you know, that'll happen. It always does when there's three on a call, you know. I mean, I have a rule. I will not interview a whole band because it's a waste of fucking time for everybody. But in this case, it's like I'm interviewing a whole band. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. But yeah, the kind of intuition that you build up, you know, over all of those years, somebody's only going to get in the way of that, really, aren't they? They're going to be, and I completely see why, you know, you operated like that. So is this going to be self-released? Is this for a label? You know?
Yeah, we're putting it out ourselves. We've already had the CDs arrive. We're also playing a show December 1st, the same day the album comes out.
Yeah.
In San Diego at the Brick by Brick, so that's gonna be great. But yeah, we're just putting it out ourselves. You know, want to play some more shows, Wally?
Well, he's exactly right.
Well, look, hopefully, I don't say hopefully. Let's see. I'll get this out on the 30th of November. So we'll just be out. It'll just drop just before the album.
Cool.
Very cool.
And it's also very cool to hear that you got the CDs done as well. What about mastering? Did you go anywhere special for that, or?
Yeah, so I mixed the album as I have all of our releases, and then we had it mastered by Dave Otero from Colorado, who's worked with Archspire and Fall of Carnage and Allegiant and many other modern death metal bands. He's a great resource, and it was very lucky for us that he had some time that he was willing to give us to throw his ears on our recording, because he's, you know, deeply booked, and we appreciate his work on this, and the master was really a boost to our recording. So yeah, thanks, Dave.
Also, which was really interesting, was that because we're a two-piece, David Taro actually mastered us individually. So he mastered the drums, mastered the guitar, and like how they would actually sort of blend.
What's called a stem master.
Stem master, which I was, you know,
Wally
always is just dripping audio knowledge onto me, you know, as we go through this. So when I found that out, I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I had exactly the same experience mastering our last album. And we were lucky. We managed to get Jens Bogren to do it. Who, I mean,
we love Jens. Our other band, Beekeeper, our album, which drops January 1st, was mastered by Jens.
Oh right, okay. So you've got
he's extraordinary.
And you've got 2 albums dropping in the space of a month. I love it.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. And
Busy.
yeah, no, Jens is, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you know what it's like, you know, mastering, it comes back and you go, oh yeah, that's, yeah, great. It's been mastered well, cool. But then
Mm.
you get something back, like, you know, I first put out an album before you guys were born, without wanting to sound like an old cunt, but I am.
Uh-huh.
So to hear what Jens had done with mastering, it's like, why can I hear things I couldn't hear before?
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
the that whole stem mastering is just amazes me with what they can do.
Interesting. So you did a stem master for your album?
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, very
Jens did
cool.
the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
so cool. Yeah, you know what we did with Jens for Beekeeper was he actually gave us some mix critiques. So we had him listen to a couple of our mixes and he gave some feedback about just some frequency resonances and things like these that we could touch up in advance of the master to
yeah,
make his job a little easier and get to the final product faster. And the one thing I will say about Jens's master, it's extremely natural sounding. You know,
yes,
it doesn't
yeah,
feel over processed. It really does feel like a an optimization of what the mix was. And I think that you know that's something that Jens does very elegantly, and even in his mixes, what I loved about the Opeth recordings and stuff like that was just how natural and organic, but also huge they sounded.
yeah. That last word is very important in metal.
Yeah, everything needs to be
Um,
big.
yeah. I mean, we went for kind of like an old school sound.
Huh?
So you know, the drums you hear are, funnily enough, the drums that were played. You know, there's
Yeah.
nothing's been replaced.
Hmm.
And you know, guitar is you know, through a JCM 800 and through an Ibanez Tube Screamer. And then that's mic'd all around a room. And yeah, there's that you know, there is a profile guitar in there, but the profile guitar is in there to add frequency rather than, you know, you can't even hear it if you listen
That's how
for
it
it.
goes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you do it.
They're all
Yeah,
tools, you know, it's all just
yeah,
tools. If it gets you to
Yeah.
where you want to go and it sounds great, then who gives a shit, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's cool to do something in an old school aesthetic. I definitely love that, but also for me, you know, it's like a lot of that stuff. I mean, we did have a philosophy with this record to try and keep it as natural as possible. You know, there are some sample augmentation on the kicks, but that's just for some dynamic consistency. But otherwise, the
yeah.
kicks that you hear are his, and everything else on the kit, everything else on the guitars, everything is natural and played, performed as it was.
And Wally's
Yeah.
always very gracious because I fancy myself like a very dynamic drummer with, you know, where I'll play quiet, I'll play loud, I'll hit my bass drum quietly, I'll play it, you know, loud, like, you know, all these things. And then, you know, some sort of, with whatever engineer I'm working with, some sort of compression will get put on and I'll be like, wait a minute, like that hit was supposed to be louder than the other hit, you know what I mean? And then I'm you know, so like Wally is really
Yeah.
like harnessed a way to like really keep it natural, but then also having his like, you know, audio engineer ears still like being happy with like, okay, but hold on, there still needs to be something here, there's still, this is too much, you know. So it's like, it's a really good mind meld, if you say.
Yeah, oh, very good. Yeah, and we were just earlier we were discussing mastering mind meld. I mean, fucking hell, it just sounds like a new movie trilogy. Um, and for listeners wondering, Wally is Adam, but
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
your
Sorry,
sorry.
that's
no,
my
no, no, it's
nickname.
all
My
right.
last name is Wallach, and so my friends all call me Wally. Now you're my friend. You can call me Wally if you like. But yeah, I've had many an awkward conversation where people are like, "Wait, what is your name?" So to clarify, my name is Adam. I go by Wally as a nickname. It's been
Cool.
now decades that people have called me it, so we don't
Yeah.
really think about it anymore. But yeah, I'll answer whatever.
Ah, cool. So when
Good.
I mean, you're both in other bands, and Beekeeper and Atheist, respectively. So you have to work with that nightmare that is Kelly Schaefer. I don't know how you manage it. Um,
I'll tell him you said that.
yeah, I hope so. I hope
No,
you know,
just
I hope
kidding.
I'm joking. I'm joking,
No, I know,
Kelly.
I know,
I
I know,
love
I know.
you. um,
Kelly's such a lovable dude.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a top man, absolutely top man.
Yeah.
And but also by definition, then obviously I know you guys are as well. So you know,
Mm.
it goes without saying. When did the two of you, I mean, 2008 demos, it seems like a bit of a redundant question asking, like, when did you start writing the album? Because I've got a feeling, is this a culmination of something that you've had kicking around for like, a decade, or did the two of you just suddenly go, right, let's write an album? We got, it's lockdown, or where did this come from?
Go ahead, Dill.
Well, I mean, because we put out our previous record during COVID, and I guess those songs were probably written before COVID. So these songs have probably been around for maybe like 3-ish years or something. But
Right.
what's actually really cool about this record is that we've actually been pretty quick from the time we recorded it to the time we released. Like, I think from going into the album to like CD in my hand, it was like 9 months,
Right.
which was
Yeah,
pretty
we
cool.
recorded at the end of January, and we had the CDs arrived 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's just around 9 months. But we released our last album, Continuance, in 2020, and then we just continued writing. I mean, we really have a hard time
You had a
not writing.
continuance of writing after your.
Very good.
Yeah,
Exactly right.
That's okay.
Well, that's sort of the point. Yeah, it's all a continuance because we just really never stop for extended periods of time. I mean, it's difficult. It's like we just love to play music and with each other, and save for our other projects and other obligations, we have consistently been jamming and writing together, weekly, basically for the last 15 years.
And I completely understand, given we're only 20 minutes into this conversation, I completely understand why there's no bass player and there's no singer. They would just get in the fucking way.
Well, we do also have Beekeeper, which kind of scratches that itch for us. So
cool. Yes,
Dylan
of course.
and I are both in Beekeeper. He's the drummer and songwriter for Beekeeper. I'm the bassist, and our friend Ali is the singer and guitarist for that band. So we do kind of get that out of our system. And Fermentor, we did have a bassist. We did have a bassist briefly. He played one show with us, and then 2 weeks later, everything shut down for COVID.
Wow.
So it was a cool thing, and it was really nice to have a third person. But it is a steep learning curve in terms of learning our material, and also, yeah, just kind of clicking into our sort of intuition, which can be challenging. But we just work with what we got, and I play through a guitar stack and a bass stack, and we just try and make it sound, competitive against 5+ piece bands, and we do an all right job, I think.
I can't wait to hear it properly, like a CD through a stereo, music as it's meant to be heard, and I've just got this funny feeling that it's going to be huge, but there's also going to be a space to it that I'm not used to, as in. Well, do you know what I mean? There's going to be loads of frequencies there that I can hear a lot clearer than usual, and there's going to be a lot of frequencies that are just not there.
Right.
And adapting to that, I think it's going to make it a fascinating listen.
Yeah. I kind of, there was a little bit of culture shock with the bass drum, because I love how the bass drum, but it's like when you're so used to hearing that like that fake bass drum, you know what I mean? And then you like listen to it like when you're like in the recording studio and you're like listening to the bass drum, and for a while you're like, wait a minute, oh yeah, because this is this is what a bass drum sounds like. And then I remember in the studio being like, I think me and Wally were both like where's where the highs? Like we're trying to like turn up the highs to like hear like better, just like naturally when we were like tracking. And then then later like it gets mixed to sound amazing. But like just the idea of like, oh yeah, like these are just bass drums. It's like that's what you've got to use as your bass drum. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
as
exactly,
opposed to that marrying of the bass guitar and the kick, I think is what he's describing. But
it's that. Well, it's frequency clash, isn't it? It's like it's like our producer Jace, who always say to me is like, you never ever have a band anywhere near the mix, and he's like he had a critique from, and it was somebody saying like, right, the bass player says, can you put his bass up like just 2 dB in that section there? And he's like, I said, so what did you do? He said, I went back and I said, tell your fucking bass player that if I put his fucking bass up 2 fucking dB, it'll be in the bass drum, you stupid twat. It's just like,
sounds like a real joy to work with.
oh yeah. Get it straight.
Yeah.
But it's
different strokes, I guess.
no, but no.
Also, that
all
doesn't
done in
work with a
fun.
SoCal accent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, Jace is Welsh, so it sounds positively friendly. Do you know what I mean? It sounds like he's doing you a favor. I just didn't do the accent because that would be horrific.
Yeah.
And
so
but it's just like when there's I mean a 5-piece, when you're balancing all of that, and your other bands as well and mixing, when you're trying to, something always suffers.
Yeah.
That's music. I don't care what.
Yeah, it's sacrifices.
Yes,
it's a
you
minimization process.
Yeah.
Everything is, you're taking these massive stacks, these massive drum kits, these huge sounds being pushed by 12, 24, 36 speakers, and you're shrinking them down into 2 speakers, sometimes something into an iPhone speaker. You know what I mean? So it's like this minimization process is so difficult to try and squash everything in and have things occupy the same space and have their own space. It's a very difficult art. As someone who mixes regularly, it's the most challenging sort of puzzle that exists, and I love it.
Because Wally has been in a 7-piece for years, and he has had to mix many albums where there's guitar, bass, plus sax, accordion.
Wow.
So Wally's also, he's had to balance a million items. And then Fermentor, there's the 2 items.
And that album came out last month, by the way.
Yes.
Do you just put out an album a month of some kind?
Sometimes things just line up, and it just lined up. My other band, Trash Axis, which is the 7-piece he's referring to, our album Scrapyard Vistas came out on Halloween, October 31st, and that's also on Spotify now. And that's a pretty crazy band. And if Fermentor is not not enough elements, then feel free to check out Trash Axis, which will be way too many.
Yeah, well, that sounds insane. I mean, what kind of music is it?
It's experimental metal, I guess. I mean, it's sort of all over the map. It's got like klezmer, and it's got grind and punk. It's sort of Mr. Bungley, I guess. But so yeah, sort of just very genre bendy and a sort of through line of metal and punk, I'd say.
Maybe like Zappa-ish.
Sure. If Zappa was playing in heavily distorted drop D.
Well, that's a compliment in itself. So, but with Fermentor, this new album, are you going to be in a position to be able to tour it at all? Because people will want to know if they're going to get a chance to see you live or anything like that.
Yeah, we just talked about that the other day.
Yeah, we want to. I mean, I'm sort of realistically trying to see what my life looks like next year, because I know there's a few different Atheist tours that are going to land somewhere that I'm trying to sort of work within those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel a little bit like in a state of flux, just because I can't we can't properly plan, just because we have to sort of see where these other chips fall and like what months I'm going to be gone.
Yeah.
But I mean, we both want to. We were touring every year with Beekeeper until COVID, and then just we were itching to get back on tour, essentially.
Yeah. The short answer is yes. We definitely will tour. When exactly that will happen, we're not entirely sure. But the nice thing about being a 2-piece is we're nimble. It's easy enough to hop in a single vehicle and hit the road. So if people want to hear us or see us, see us in your town, let us know, and we'll try
dude,
on the books.
I took 20 years off from music and did stand-up comedy, which I still do now. And
cool.
Nimble. It's like, they're so different. Someone rings me up, got a gig on this date. Let me check my diary. I'm free.
Yeah.
What's the fee? It's this. Okay, see you then. Done.
End of conversation.
Yeah.
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 I
Yes,
mean,
that is a benefit for us.
yeah.
We, there's pros and cons, of course, and the other one is this is self-released, so everything is out of our own pockets, and there's only two pockets, instead
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
5 or more. So, yeah.
Also, I just wanted to say, because we had mentioned, as of this recording today, the 17th of November, we just put out a new song and a new video from this album.
That's true.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'll go and check that out.
That's us recording the song "Return to the Darkness" in the studio, and then
Yep.
the day of the album dropping, December 1st, we're putting out more of like a produced music video. So
Right.
there's another video single that's out literally today. So if you're watching this video, it's out. And then December 1st, there will be a music video to our song "Secret Visitors" that comes out.
Sensory overlord.
So
Cool.
That's it.
Absolutely. Hey, look,
sorry.
whatever it's called, well, everyone will find
Starts
it.
with an S.
If you
And
can look over my shoulder, it's all
yeah,
scrawled with writing, like
yeah.
the names are just.
Well, funnily enough, you've led me on to. I was wondering when I was listening to it, and then I was just kind of thinking, how do you come up with a song title? How are these? And does that come back to that? Does that come back to the imagined singer in your head and like phrases or things that you might like hum that match a riff and you go, that's the title? Or how's it go?
Sort of. I feel like, and it's funny because oftentimes me and Wally will not have the same idea, but because it's instrumental, we both are just constantly having these like, movies in our head, like when we're listening to the music, or imagining all these scenarios, or and oftentimes we write a song and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is song I can totally feel, and then Wally will be like, oh really, because I have this totally different interpretation, and because it's instrumental, the songs actually can feel be like means so much to us because of a sort of like a feeling that we have almost like projected onto our songs, that we're like, it's interesting. It's like when you have lyrics to a song, then the song is that, you
Yeah,
know
oh
what I
yeah,
mean? And there's no kind of wiggling around it. But it's like when it's instrumental, like a song can like mean something different to you in that moment. Or so the song titles just kind of come from like things that when we are just talking to each other, things that we say that sort of have significance, or like, ooh, I like that, I
yeah.
think, like, Wally, do you remember, was "Return to the Darkness" just from like lyrics? Like you just wrote lyrics to the song because you just imagined a scenario when you were listening to it, and
So yeah, I when we wrote Return to the Darkness, I just had an idea of if lyrics were applied to this, I had an idea of how they might sound or how they might go. So at the time we didn't have a name for the song. We just had the music. And then when I wrote the lyrics, one of the lines was Return to the Darkness, and then I sort of retconned that as the title for the track. And so that's how we got Return to the Darkness, which is a little bit of an outlier. That's not generally how we would find a title to our songs. A lot of times I'd say they're like inside jokes or just like common references that we have that like we kind of twist, that maybe like outside of our vacuum, they're sort of almost like they could be a funny thing, but like sort of purposed for an extreme song, they kind of have a new meaning. Our previous albums had a little more sort of like culture references and stuff like that, but that's less so on this
like, for
record.
instance, "Sensory Overlord"
Yeah,
was
yeah,
literally something that one of us said on accident. We
yeah,
meant to say "sensory overload," but
Yeah.
then we're
yeah,
like, oh, that's cool, and
yeah.
I'm sure we
Write it
laughed,
on the board.
and then we're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's a
We,
song.
yeah. And then other times we'll just, for example, Dylan, when we were in the studio and, it's like we would just listen to something and we'd just be like, that's called this. And we would just like trade off. It's like, what's this one called? What's this one called?
Oh
And we just
yeah.
off the cuff, just kind of,
Oh,
yeah.
well
Go ahead.
well, that brings up, because we do a lot of writing through like through improvising.
Yeah.
So
Jamming.
oftentimes, so we're kind of always recording things, and it's like, even though there's only 8 tracks on this album, when we went into the studio, we were recording improv things and just getting ideas, and so we will like oftentimes, yeah, we went back and forth and we're like, all right, you name this song, and then now it's crazy because now there's like song titles where I don't even remember who named it or what the story, what, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you go back all, because we, 2008, it's like I can't remember exactly the meaning of these titles, or because we have so many releases, but I like how they just become, it starts off with an idea and then that's just the name of the song, and it has its own identity.
And the other benefit of it being instrumental, again, talking about lyrics before, it's like it allows the listener to apply their own meaning, and to
Yeah.
sort of just you don't have a lot to parse out in terms of you have only a handful of words, but from that you can draw something and say, what do I feel like this could mean?
Yeah, no, it's kind of it's a hint to the listener.
Yeah, exactly. A clue.
Yeah, a clue to the riddle that is Fermentor. Yeah,
That's gotta be the drop right there. That's great.
Yeah. Can you solve this band?
I love that.
There's metal puzzle.
Yeah.
But well, it fits with mind meld, doesn't it?
Sure it does.
Yeah, sure. And it must be I don't know. It's so different that it's like that you are so heavy, so heavy, so powerful. And there's only two of you. Is there, do you ever feel cramped? Does Fermenter take a particular mindset? Do you ever then sort of in other bands feel a bit cramped?
Interesting. I think Dylan could probably talk more to that than I could. I will say sometimes it can feel a little bit limiting with just the two of us. As the guitarist, it's like it can feel difficult to not have a lot of counterpoint in the melody, but it just, you adapt, right? It's sort of like that's how the music evolves, is sort of from those limitations, and it gives it something special. But as far as being in other projects with more members and stuff, Dylan, maybe you can talk a little bit about how it feels to go from a two-piece to a more piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think I really enjoy like creatively oftentimes like working within parameters, because it's like then you can kind of in some ways like be more creative. So it's like, if I'm in a band like Atheist was just a 5-piece, it's like, okay, there's all sorts of elements happening, so it's like I need to support them, where it's like in a 2-piece it's sort of like, okay, they can either look at me or they can look at him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
you're playing
and
lead drums.
yeah, sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I think about it. And it just makes me because I'm trying to view it through like a listener or something. I'm thinking, okay, like how's this gonna sound? Like, okay, if it's just these two, then that riff's got to be cool, and that drum beat's got, you know what I mean? It's like, well, you can't do that part 8 times. You got to do it 4 times. No, not 4 times, 3 times, because 4 times is too normal. It's like it puts us in this sort of mindset where like we're pushing ourselves to be more creative, be weirder, play things that we haven't played before, because you're more naked and you're gonna get away with less almost.
Yeah.
Definitely
That's no place to hide. Oh, look at
that.
That's right. Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
there's a meld right there.
Right there, bro. No, and I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It's naked is the word. It's the two of you, because I was also thinking about like envisaging you playing live and being a punter and watching you. Punter is British for concert goer. But and like it's just the two of you, and it's like, so do you play off each other? Because that's like there's a huge, people will feed off that energy, but someone's going to be facing the audience. And is it just the drums, or do you know what I mean? How do you mix that up?
Yeah, well, we do set ourselves up equidistant on stage, so we're sort of towed in, kind of looking at each other, but sort of focused toward, triangulated to the audience.
Both at the front of the stage.
But at the front of the stage, yeah. So I'm not standing in front of Dylan or anything like that. It's very sort of equal.
I bet I could just imagine you playing venues for the first time and dealing with the grumpy live crew. What do you mean? Fucking what? You could have what? You're setting up where?
Our stage
Well,
box is back there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember one time. I won't
Do
say
you want
where
a
it was, but
riser?
it was in Pomona, right? Or no, it
Oh
was in
yes,
Palmdale. It was in Palmdale,
yes, yes.
and essentially the sound guy was like, "Hey, the chords are back there. I'm not moving them. You're setting up back there." And I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah. That was also
I
a
was, and he also kind of implied like, and that's also the end of this conversation. So I was like, all right.
yeah. It was a
Yeah,
fest, so there were 20
yeah.
bands or
I'm
something
just
like that.
relaying the message to you that you're over there.
You can, yeah. And you want
Yeah.
anything else? Call the union, because that's it. I'm done. That's what you're
And
getting.
it is odd when that happens. You know, it really does sort
Yeah,
of stymie our kind of system, because it's like I really am drawing a lot from Dylan in our performances, and like we really are sort of leaning into things together, and there's a lot of
yeah,
unspoken moments, and it's like to do that where he's back there means occasionally I'm not facing the audience, which is not ideal. So you know, a lot of the reason why we do things, you know, it's important, and so we try to convey that to, and frankly most sound people are very accommodating, and I think a lot of them are actually really stoked when we come through because we've given things a lot of thought and we have a lot prepared. So we try and come in and you know, as pro as possible, so that you know it's not a pain for them.
I get you. So the experience that I just described and the one Dylan that you had, well,
That was
welcome,
once.
welcome to the UK. It's every fucking gig.
Okay.
Well, we'll cross that bridge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hey, you just it'd be a result if you're here. So
We'll
that's
cross
yeah,
that
yeah.
channel.
Nice.
hey, nice. Um, but the thing is, you were talking there as well about leaning into it and unspoken moments and things like that. Now, this is where we start to get into the territory of what music has always had and what all music has, but funnily enough, unspoken moments, yeah, and that vibe shared. It's not something between musicians. It's not something that's talked about a lot in metal. And I was really interested to hear you use that phrase, unspoken moments, and leaning into it. And you know, you're looking at each other and you connect and you are in sync. And you cannot describe it. There is no fucking equation. There's no way of proving anything. You can only feel it and know it exists. And it's quite rare for anyone in metal to talk about that. So I'm really, really glad you did. And I could imagine that's really powerful, there just being two of you.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's something that we have as a benefit. It would be a lot harder to do that the more people you have. So that's a, you know, a benefit that we have, because of our smaller size. What were you gonna say, Dill?
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's like when we're creating the songs, you know, like it's one thing, but then when we're performing, it's very much almost like a stunt where it's like, okay,
Mm,
I hope I nail this really hard thing that you know, it's like, okay, this is gonna be a
yeah,
4 minute, like I got to keep the ball in the, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's like
yeah, absolutely.
in that time, it's like we're both relying on each other a lot. Where
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
like, hey, we both are like, you know, it's like we're gymnasts like holding on to each other in the air or something. It's like we're relying. It's like, hey, when I come to that thing, I need you to be there too, and you know, so it's sort of like I often think of like when we play a song, it's sort of like, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's very much like I mean, a performance type of thing, but it's, you
It's
know, so I
acrobatic.
feel like we have to sort of like, okay, in order for me to catch you here, I need to be able to look at you and reach you, you know what I mean? So to speak.
And it's
yeah,
not
that
necessarily something that can be on a metronome, you know. So it's like it's not just about accuracy. It's about being together because things shift, and so being able to anticipate those things, I think, is sort of something that makes us a little special in that regard.
yeah, that gymnastic comparison and you know being there to catch somebody, that is that's a great analogy. And I know what you mean by the beginning of the song, because you know I've played in thrash bands all my life, and I think ultimately, you know, the best songs are a race to the end. You know, it's like, a race to the end, but we're all going to get there at the same time. Okay, but it is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
race. Okay, it's
Mhm.
not a race, but it is a race.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
and the other thing I love is music is at its best and most vital when it sounds like it could go off the rails any minute.
I agree.
That is
Yeah.
that's where it is, and
It
that's
needs a little bit of
you
chaos.
yeah, and you two really reminded me of that.
It's also like, you know, I think I think what's important to us is keeping the fact that we're human sort of in the mix. So it's like a lot of metal is very sort of calculated and mechanical, and I think we don't really subscribe to that. And as a result, it means that we can have a little more humanity kind of showing through. And when we're performing live, there is that like, oh, are they going to drop the spinning plates? You know, is this roller coaster going to go off, you know, the rails kind of thing? And yeah, it feels a little not dangerous, but like there's a risk involved, and you're sort of like, you know, you have sort of that common thread with the audience of like, we're all hoping this goes well. And so when it does, when that execution is there, I think it's really satisfying for everyone.
Well, I kind of guess it is as well, because I would imagine that, you know, when you were saying earlier about, you know, it's a bit like right, I would imagine there's a little bit, it's a kind of little bit like that for the audience as well. It's kind of like, right, you know, come along.
I mean, Kelly would always famously call playing shows or like a song as like a bar fight. And he's like, I'm in a bar fight. I don't know where anyone is. I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm just swing. You know what I mean? Like, he does it. Like, it's true. It's like once the song's going, like he's like, there's, you know what I mean? Like he's in it, and it's you know, and it's just that part of like, you know, like once you're in the song, it's like it's very intimate. And I think that's probably why bands break up. It's because if you don't like someone, playing music is like so intimate. It's like, get away from me. You know what I mean? It's like it's you have to get really, really close, you know. So
well, that's why when you know, when you lose a band member, or when you have to lose a band member, it is like a breakup. Happened to me 18 months ago, and you know, that's pretty much ended a 30-year friendship. And you know, but Christ, I was like a battered wife afterwards, you know. I was like, yeah, oh no, come back. And it's really hard to explain unless you've been in a band. It sounds a bit fucking weird.
It seems so superficial, but it isn't. And it's like being creative with someone is a very vulnerable thing. And like, you know, when you feel strongly about something, you know, it's like Dylan and I are very close, but we have disagreements, we have aesthetic differences, you know, it's like we are different in a lot of ways. And so reconciling those things and trying to find, you know, sort of collaborative overlap and like, you know, reconciliation in these ways, it's like it takes time and investment, you know, and it's like you have to care about the other person and their ideas, and it takes years to get comfortable with that,
and music is also just tied up in people's hopes and aspirations and dreams and what they want their life to be like, and the places they want to go. And you know, it's like when things go wrong in bands, or when you hit hard times, it's not superficial, because it really affects so much of like what you're shaping your whole life around. You know what I mean? And it's just you know.
Yeah, and friendships, you know, it's like it's difficult. It's very, very difficult when the friendship and the bandmate overlap. You know, it's and I think there's a lot of people who are in bands who do kind of keep that distance a little bit, and they're not necessarily friends outside of the bands. It's sort of a working relationship. But we are friends, and you know, Dylan and I have known each other our whole lives almost. So, you know, it's important to us to keep both healthy.
I often worry, and I don't think this is the case, because I'm in a lot, you know, like Ali and Beekeeper's also like one of my best friends, and I often worry, I'm like, have I just like converted my friendships into these bands? Like, is my relationship with Wally just band now? You know what I mean? Which it isn't, but it's like a fear I have in the back of my mind where is everything we talk about like work, or you know what I mean? Like isn't, but it's like in the back of my mind where I'm like, don't forget about these are like friendships with like people who have other things, and you know.
That's very responsible of you, and it's absolutely right. And it's kind of like, I have the same thing. I have the same thing with like turning hobbies into jobs. You know, it's like, do you remember when you did this for a laugh?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Well, it's like, how do you hate a song that you love? You cover it.
You
know what I mean? You start, hey, oh, I love this song. Let's put it in the set. Guess what? You will now hate that song for the rest of your life.
Well, I have to say, we've got two cover versions, and yeah, and the second one on the last album is a cover version of a Suzanne Vega song, and she's one of my all-time favorite artists, and she agreed she loved our version. She agreed to guest on it. She's been on the show, been to see her live, and yeah, so that really just kind of like, yeah, that was a moment right there.
Very cool.
Yeah, and my big hero is Fish from Marillion. He was the reason I got involved in music in the first place. And I'd only recently interviewed him, and then when I was interviewing Suzanne Vega, I mentioned it, and she went, "Oh, do you want me to tell you a story about the time Fish and I got drunk?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" You know, yes,
cool.
please do, please, yeah, exactly. So these are the things that cover versions can bring you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe I've just been lucky.
No, I'm just being cynical, probably.
Always an exception to the rule, right?
Yeah, and maybe it is, but also you then open the door to people going, what's your next cover version going to be? Well, what's the cover version on the new album going to be? And you're like, please, come on, you know, really?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Do Freebird
by the covers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a musician's job to be unpredictable. That's my feeling about it.
Sure, I can feel that. You want to be surprising, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, people think they know what they want, which is usually just more of the same. But that is not necessarily, they might find that fulfilling, but it's not necessarily nourishing for the artist.
Yeah, it's a
you
balance, right?
Yeah,
you want to consider the audience, but you also want to feel fulfilled in your creative endeavors. I mean, that's something that we talk about, and it's like, even in our sets, it's like, are we going to play songs that people are familiar with, or are we going to play songs that people aren't familiar with, but we, feel more of a connection to right now because they're fresher and we're excited to show them, and it's like, the result is maybe people aren't running around as much, they're more standing and absorbing, so you kind of have to balance that out.
Yeah, and that's a really important point as well, is that you don't if people are stood still, it doesn't mean they're bored.
No, yeah,
it's
for
like
our kind of music, it's like you have to be okay with people just trying to absorb what you're
exactly
putting out.
Yeah,
complicated music.
Yeah,
it's all right if people are. I like it when they move around. I prefer it.
Yeah,
but also they might be missing the minutia. Then what about the minutia?
Yeah, you can't have everything, can you? I mean, and ultimately, sit at home and listen to the minutia, and live. That's what for me. That's what it's all about. It's like, ultimately, if there's a few bum notes here and there, and it's no big deal. It really isn't, because that's the live experience. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it makes it wholly unique. So every time you see us, there's that little bit of variance that makes it feel like, it's sort of a microcosm that's the one time you'll see us play this particular way, so every time a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what we tried to capture in the record, was sort of like ferment, like what's special is the live element, so let's capture that, and I think we did a great job.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I like I said, I love the sound of it. And do you know what? I hate to admit this, but you're right. We must have had a mind meld without me knowing it. But when I was listening, I was like picking out like where I'd put my bits.
Yeah.
We love that. Maybe people will submit them one day. It's like, it'd be cool if people just took them and ran with it and added layers and stuff.
We've always talked about like a
collaboration,
collab, like an album with like a bunch of different singers on it, and it's like, I mean, we always say, like, we have no rules. We're down for. We always say like all the ideas are like, if someone wanted to put a thing on, you know, or it's like, I don't know, like we sort of talk about anything, like, you know, we have no hard and fast rules of like never know this, you know.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And the thing is, hey, you know what you got to do, right? 8-track album, eight different singers, then run a competition for 8 different people to get up at each show on the tour and sing those 8 songs. Oh,
Televise it.
Yeah, televise. Yeah. Talent competition. Discover the
Won't
next
be a nightmare at all.
No,
Do you
yeah,
remember
absolutely,
that?
absolutely.
Do you remember that show where it was like a competition to become the singer of In Excess?
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
you remember that show? There was like
Yeah.
a singer, like a metal singer show, or like a rock singer show, and you could be but everyone was like everyone was like metal guys on that show.
Yeah. And that was the final prize, yeah. And funnily enough, Wally, you were saying there about like there won't be a nightmare at all. It's like, yeah. It's like it sounds like a great idea, and then you think like, but that's like fucking 8 singers, man.
No,
That's like, you know, and each one you're going to have one who is absolutely reliable and delivers. You've got another one that you got to chase, and they say they're going to do it, and they say they're going to do it. And oh god, yeah.
One of my toxic traits is that I'm always obsessed with logistics. So anytime we propose doing anything, the first stuff that rolls through my head are just all the logistic potential nightmares that are almost sure to arise. And so all of my anxiety is like balled up in those kinds of things. So that something like that, which you describe, you know, having 8 singers and going on a tour is fucking impossible. What that band Trash Axis did once is we did have a karaoke night where we played a show. We had you know, probably 6 or 7 of our friends who had practiced with us agreed to sing a certain song, and they came up and each of them, you know, sort of one by one sang one of our songs when our singer was out of town. So we've done something similar, but going on tour is an impossibility, I think.
Oh yeah. No, what I meant was even worse. You have 8 different people at every show.
Oh, every night. No.
And you run a competition for those 8. Yeah, exactly. You know, it was a terrible idea.
I love it. Hey, you know, it's nice to have ideas.
I'll get Jerry Bruckheimer on the phone.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, he'll fucking lap it up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
J-Bro, he'll love this.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's my man.
J-Brew? Jabes?
Yeah. What you call him, J-Breel?
J-Brime?
Oh dear. Oh god. Now touring is a bigger nightmare as it is. I mean, if you're obsessed with logistics, like being on tour must be like, when do you turn off?
Well, it's interesting, you know, I mean, that's actually something I love about tour is it's one of the only places where that part of my brain does sort of shift into a more feral state. And it's like I do like click into a tour mode where I can kind of let go a little bit and just kind of.
He will though bring 3 backpacks filled with gadgets though.
That's true. Well, I'll also inevitably have work and projects and stuff I'm doing on the road. So I have like a table I build in the back of the van so I can mix, and I did. That's true. I definitely bring you know, a sort of glamping approach to touring.
Glamping. So right.
Luring.
Would you say you were working on a desk whilst like building a desk on the road?
It's like a little plastic desk, you know, the legs and everything collapses into a rectangular thing. And so I would keep that around so that, you know, I had a record that I was working on at the time while we were on tour. You know, in the back of the van, I could set it up and set up my laptop, and I'd have my headphones, my hard drive, and I would do my thing. And it was honestly great. I loved it.
Yeah, that sounds.
Was it this Trash Axis record that just came out?
Probably. It did. I did work on it for years and years. Probably. Yeah, that tracks.
That's cool actually. And I would imagine, like, you're mixing it. You've also got that. You've got the hum of the road, like in the background, haven't you?
Yeah. No, and the feeling of it. You know, you're sort of out of your. You know, I'm out of my office. I'm out of my home or whatever, and so it's like you do have a different. A different mindset.
That does seem insane. With the
no, but
you finish mixing it. You finish mixing it, and then you go like, oh, Christ, why is there a hum all over this? It's like, what the hell's going on here?
Where's that hum that I loved?
Why was I recording the hum in the car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like it's. I wouldn't recommend it for the audio file necessarily, but it allowed me to keep working, and it keeps my head and my hands busy on tour, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Fermentor, the van mixes. Just like
Hell yeah.
a reimagining of the Mind Meld album on the road.
Yeah, the van test.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, guys, I've loved our conversation. Thank you so much for your time and for being early, because I got the times wrong. Fucking hell, honestly. I do it. It's not all good. Next year is 10 years of this podcast, and I've been an hour out of countless interviews.
Well, we did just have daylight savings, so you can blame it on the daylight savings.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow, awesome. I'm not going insane. Brilliant.
No, it's funny because Wally texted me this morning and I was like, but I remember when we were like having that conversation, like going on my little app and like figuring like, okay, yeah, it is 7 hours. Yeah. But in that time it did become, so funny.
7 became 8.
Yeah.
Never mind. Well,
look, this was honestly perfect, and it was so great to talk to you. We really appreciate you having us on, and hopefully we do it again.
Pleasure. Oh, absolutely. You'll be back. You'll be back, guys. Don't worry about that.
Awesome.
And hopefully, catch you with Atheist, or catch you with Fermentor or Trash Access or any of the other 84 bands you're in. Between the two of you.
Absolutely.
Yes. Nothing concrete, but possibly, Howard, I might be seeing you quite soon. So
okay.
Yes. Who knows?
Who knows?
But Wally, make sure I'm not messing anything up. But fermentorband.com, that's where you can find everything Fermentor. That'll link you to everything. You can get our music, you can get our CD, or you can pre-order. It comes out December 1st. Check us out, Fermentor Metal, on all the social media and on YouTube. We have all sorts of cool videos, really cool music videos from previous records we've put out. A lot of cool stuff. But fermentorband.com, you can find everything.
Awesome.
If I'm missing anything.
Have you got any merch?
Yeah,
we've
got great shirts. Right now we have our Fermentor Morph shirt, which is xenomorph style with our older metal fermenter logo. We have CDs, Mind Melt CDs, and our previous album Continuance, also available for purchase. And we're always adding stuff, so keep an eye on our Instagram and our Facebook, and you can find all the cool new limited edition stuff.
Cool, that's awesome. Well, guys, make sure I'll find you on. Obviously, when this episode comes out, I'll tag you in everything. I think I'm following you anyway. Stay in touch, and I'll see you again on here sometime soon. Thank you so much.
Right on.
Pleasure, Howard. Thank you for everything.
Thanks for having us.
It's my absolute pleasure. See you later, guys. Have a lovely day.
Take
care, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.